and welcome. This is Too Old for This Shit, where each week we dissect, discuss, and critique the best and worst of action movies from the 80s and 90s. You're listening to the podcast that puts critical thought into a mindless genre. Now, my name is Josh, and with me, as always, is my valiant co-host, Antonio.
Hello, everyone.
So, I grew up watching these movies, but Antonio, seeing them...
Did not.
Yeah. You're coming to these films as a newcomer, but I'm just glad that, I can share them with you and with the world.
Well, interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure that the film we're reviewing today I have seen, but it was a very long time ago, and I barely remember any of it.
In the womb?
No. Well, okay, hold on. I was alive when this film was released, but I remember seeing it on VHS at some point. But it was a very long time ago, and I don't remember it very well.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter if you watch this on VHS or Blu-ray, or if you're streaming it illegally off the internet. We're going to bring a freshness to this nostalgia. And this week's film is...
Cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah, baby.
So it's a rock climbing film?
Yep.
Now, the thing...
You've nailed it.
Is this an over-the-top situation? As in over-the-top being the arm wrestling film that Stallone did? Is this them putting a star into something that may not necessarily be exciting and trying to make it super exciting?
No, this is a fairly exciting film. Like it's not like something is boring like arm wrestling and they're like, man, we got to really make this interesting. It's better than that. It aspires to be more.
Okay, cool.
I'm trying to remember. So you think you have seen this film at some point?
Yeah, I think I saw it on like year 8 camp or something.
I think I saw this first with my stepfather. I think he rented it.
Right.
And my mom didn't really know what it was. She was like, oh, a rock climbing movie. And so I was allowed to watch it.
Yeah, right. What? Okay. It'll be interesting to see whether or not that was a fair assessment for your mother to make.
At least it probably would have kept her awake because she falls asleep during a lot of movies.
Right. Okay, cool. Looking forward to it.
All right, let's do this.
So, how does Cloud ever talk you into climbing up to the tower?
He told me it was better than sex.
Really?
What the fuck are you talking about? Where's the money?
I burned it. Never could save it.
I'm beginning to dislike this, Mr. Walker.
Season's over, asshole!
Okay, and we're back.
Yeah.
We got to hang out with Stallone for
yes.
an hour and a half.
Could you say that the stakes were high?
They were very high. And then they fell very low.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that. This film is actually based on a novella written by a guy called John Long, who was a rock climber, and the novella was called Rogues Babylon. So it was an adaptation of a short story. So do you want to take us through... We'll take them through the plot of the film.
Okay, so Cliffhanger, in brief, is the story of Gabe Walker, a mountain rescue climber who runs away from his life after failing to save his best friend Hal's girlfriend from falling thousands of feet to her death. Gabe comes back a year later to try and get his girlfriend and fellow mountain rescue person, Jesse, back.
Meanwhile, Eric Quaylen hijacks a plane with $100 million cash on board from the Denver Mint while the plane is in midair. Now, the perfect plan is foiled when a storm hits and the money gets dropped onto the Rocky Mountains of Colorado below. The bad guys then lure Gabe and Hal up the mountain to try and recover the stolen money, which is dotted around the mountain peaks.
Gabe then escapes and must try to foil the increasingly distrustful and backstabbing bad guys' plan while keeping Jesse and Hal alive, and it all ends with a giant fight on a helicopter hanging off a ravine.
Your classic third act of a 90s action film.
Totally.
Everything builds up to that one point.
It's a tiny bit paint by numbers, but we'll get into that.
So to start off, the film was written by Michael France, who hasn't really written much else apart from GoldenEye, the Fantastic Four, and the first Hulk film.
Marvel adaptations is mainly what he did.
So is he still...
No, he's actually dead.
Right, there we go. Well, he did 2 of them. One of them won a Razzie, And then this script was actually nominated for a Razzie in 1994.
This film was nominated for a Razzie.
For a screenwriting Razzie in 1994.
And it's his only original screenplay. Well, semi-original.
Well, it's not even original.
Potentially.
That's the thing.
I mean, the scripted credits on this are weird because it says premise by John Long, screen story by Michael France, screenplay by Michael France and Sylvester Stallone. So the screenplay is by Michael France and Sylvester Stallone, but it's with the word "and." It's not an ampersand.
Right.
So that indicates that it is a subsequent draft that Stallone has worked on independent of Michael France.
Oh, right.
So when you
the more you know.
So when you see a script that has written by, and it's Mr. A and Mr. B, and there's an ampersand in the middle, that denotes a writing team. So
Right.
those people have worked on the script together.
So is that like a Writers Guild thing? Yeah. Right.
Stallone, I would say unique among a lot of these action stars, does write a lot of the films that he's in.
Well, and the classic story of Rocky being the film that he would only make if he got to write it. And
yeah, because he directs as well, because he's directed Expendables as him. He writes and directs Expendables movies. Right. There was another one actually directed by the same guy, Rennie Harlan, Driven, where he's a race car driver. He wrote that. But he writes, and I think he's written some of the Rambo movies too. But he's generally involved in more than just the
yeah, he seems pretty
acting.
hands-on.
Yeah.
As you said, directed by Rennie Harlan, who has also directed Die Hard 2 and a film that I'm looking forward to us watching, Long Kiss Goodnight.
Rennie Harlan, the pride of Finland.
Right. Okay. The best sort of filmmaking export of Finland.
Yeah, there's two categories of Finnish filmmakers, Rennie Harlan and everybody else.
And so as we said, this stars Sylvester Stallone, who at this point has done 5 Rocky films and 3 Rambo films. So
True.
Where is this in the Sylvester Stallone oeuvre?
Well, he's actually coming off of 2 comedies back to back.
Right.
Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Okay.
And Oscar, another not so well received film, a John Landis movie though.
Right.
And another comedy, Rocky V, but I think that was unintentionally funny.
Well, so where are we at this stage in terms of like Sylvester Stallone fever, if there ever was one? Is this past the peak Stallone?
This is moving into another phase. This is moving into a post-Rocky phase. Post-Rocky and I will say post-Rambo. So he's just finished 2 series.
Yeah.
So this is an original after him doing 8 films
that are in 2 different
franchises.
Yeah, right. Okay. So
it's a gear shift. So John Lithgow, pre-Third Rock from the Sun John Lithgow.
Yes. So I mean, that's the only thing I know him from. And then, of course, like in Dexter and then a couple other things. But like up until this point, who is John Lithgow?
He's actually predominantly a stage actor. That's what he does mostly up until this point. He does do some films. He's in a couple Brian De Palma films. And he actually does really good bad guys in some films. Like Tuskegee Airmen, he's the bad guy in that.
Right.
But this is... I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I need a pickle with the amount of ham that he's putting on screen.
The bad people in this are really, really, really bad.
And
for no reason whatsoever.
And they just, for some reason, like, give him, like, or he makes the character choice to have this quasi-British accent. I don't really understand why.
Well, I've always found John Lithgow's accent to be kind of weird in that it seems to cross the Atlantic a bit.
He's got a bit of a mid-Atlantic accent.
Yeah. So that didn't throw me too much.
It throws me, because he could do a good British accent. He's Winston Churchill on The Crown.
Right.
He can do it. It's just crap. He just does a crap. I don't know why. And I love John Lithgow.
Yeah, no, I think he's amazing. And to see him do such a hammy villain, and having seen him before in, I don't know if you've seen him in Dexter.
No.
As I think it's called The Trinity Killer. People pull me up on that. That is probably the best villain of that whole series. And he's haunting. It is amazing. But Cliffhanger,
He could do it really well. Yeah, like his performance in Raising Cain is spectacular.
He's a former government agent, according to the story, who just decided to make more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Sergeant Exposition tells us.
Who the hell is this?
Name is Eric Quaylen. We've been tracking him for some time now without much success. He's a former member of military intelligence who's found out it's more profitable going to the other side. Industrial espionage, hijacking diamonds from South Africa, theft and disposal of millions in negotiable bearer bonds, you name it. He has the international connections to move this currency, Mr. Wright. And $100 million offers one hell of a temptation to this psychotic.
Classic. But, like, there's no other reason as to why he's so evil. He just wants to make money, yet he's killing all of these people and does not give a shit about anyone. Yeah. And then also his henchmen are exactly the same. Like, the guy who gets killed on the stalactite is so full of rage. And it's like, man, maybe you just need to talk to someone. Just talk to someone for 5 minutes and figure out what really is the problem.
Yeah. The guy who got killed on the stalactite, Leon, from one of my favorite movies, Cool Runnings. He's the captain of the Jamaican bobsled team.
Oh my God, I did not recognize him.
So maybe after Cliffhanger, he was like, I need to chill out a little bit. Join the Jamaican bobsled team.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the same guy.
That's amazing.
I'm not sure which film came out first.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be worth checking, but that's unbelievable. And also the Englishmen, like, they're just so angry. And even the government agent who basically orchestrates most of the plan.
Travers.
Yeah, Travers, he just becomes totally angry. But granted,
if you
had
worked
this
for the
plan.
government that long, you'd be angry too.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. If anything, he's the only character that necessarily has the development, or at least a little bit of development for you to go, okay, he's been working for the government for so long, this is his ticket out, and it's all gone to shit.
And he loses it at the end. He loses it. Like, he's like, the mission's blown. I'm just gonna kill Walker. Like, he just is like, I'm done. And so he just becomes sociopathic, and he's on a mission just to kill Gabe for no reason other than he screwed up. Well, I guess that is a pretty good reason, but yeah.
Travers, you've lost your mind.
Lost. Have I lost it? Fucking A, I lost it, Quaylen. Pure fucking Section 8. I gotta go. I'm on my last official manhunt. Adios, motherfucker.
But there is so much killing. Like, I couldn't quite figure out why Lithgow killed the other pilot. Like, that didn't make any sense to me at all, because why kill someone on your side who, now he's by himself, so it's just easy enough for him to be dead.
Yeah, but he kills her
Right.
because she is the only one besides him who can fly the helicopter. So if he kills her, then Travers can't double cross Quaylen because then Travers can't get off the mountain.
See, I feel like that was the most complicated plot point, but also the most insignificant of the whole film then. Because it's like, it's actually quite clever. Now that you've explained it, I get it. But for everything else in the film, it feels like more thought was put into that than the rest of than the rest of the script.
Yes. Well, other players in the film, Janine Turner as Jessie, who's basically playing the exact same character that she does on Northern Exposure.
Right, just the token girlfriend.
Well, no, actually, her character on Northern Exposure is actually quite fleshed out and really good and sassy.
Right.
This is her character from Northern Exposure with all the fun taken out. Because she's a bush pilot in Northern Exposure.
Right, okay.
So she's a helicopter pilot in this.
So she's being typecast as a helicopter pilot.
And they're filmed at the same time. Like, she's filmed Cliffhanger on a break from Northern Exposure.
Right.
So it's really like she just
bizarre.
Changes like her jacket. Like, that's about it.
I mean, her character is purely there to service the plot.
Yeah, well, we'll get in. I have a few more notes on that. But yeah.
Look, the cinematography in this was really cool. There are a couple of shots that I really, really enjoyed. One of them was in the opening scene where I'm pretty sure it is actually Stallone climbing this mountain to rescue Hal and his girlfriend. And the helicopter camera goes from him and then pulls out and tracks up and reveals the couple, and it just shows that they're actually there. This thing looks super dangerous and they're stuck. Like, it really emphasized the isolation and the danger as well as how impressive this guy climbing is. Like I that was really cool. And there was another shot just before the avalanche later in the film that was really interesting. The tracking up. This whole thing of like moving the camera and tracking up the mountain is really good, and it helps to establish a space. A lot of that sort of stuff in this film was done quite well. And
Really good use of
that.
long lens and deep focus, even in actually the really simple, just dialogue scenes between like when Gabe comes back to talk to Jesse about, hey, let's get back together, and she's like, I haven't seen you in a year. Even the way that's covered, there's that really good pull out at the end.
Yeah. And the dog comes to him and he pets the dog.
Yeah.
It's like, we never see that dog ever again.
Yeah. Whose dog is that?
But yeah, no, there was, I felt like there was some really good shooting and editing choices made in the film that helped it.
A few good death scenes.
Yeah. I genuinely enjoyed seeing Leon get thrust into the stalactite. I thought that was amazing. I really, that was awesome.
There's pieces like that are really well done.
And also the hijacking scene, like that was really well done. I mean, now we live in a world where The Dark Knight Rises has been made and there's that plane hijacking scene, which is unbelievable. But the one is sort of in the first act of this film is really, really impressive. I thought that was really cool. Turns out, most expensive aerial stunt ever. The guy who went across the cable between the two planes got paid $1 million for that stunt.
Nice. All he had to do was fly between two. I could do that for $1 million. What do you have to do? Just hook your carabiner on and slide down.
And just like start sliding down. I felt like they put the right amount of effort into making it look.
The set pieces are good. I couldn't really point out any faults in the set pieces.
I mean, yeah, I knew when it was a soundstage and when it was an actual location, but it didn't bother me
There's
that
not
much.
that much on the soundstage, though.
Oh, a lot of that opening scene is on the soundstage. A lot of it. Like all the dialogue is.
Oh, yeah, that, yeah.
And it's those kind of things, a lot of those are. But yeah, no, it didn't really stand out, which I thought was good. Going back to the plane, though, one bit of the story that kind of really worked for me was the shootout in the plane when we find out who it is that's helping out with the hijacking was genuinely confusing and intriguing because you got the new guy from the FBI and you're like, oh, well, he's going to be the dude who's going to unravel all of this. But actually, no, it's not. It's the guy who's been with the company for 25 years. But there's this cool little moment for about 10 seconds where everyone's pulling out guns and you're not actually sure who is who's right, who's wrong, who's actually trying to get the money. And that kind of set it up quite well. And then I think sort of the intrigue kind of went downhill from there.
10 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. Well, I think, once sort of John Lithgow takes off his mask is when all that kind of went out the window.
Once they get on the mountain, it's basically we're moving from set piece to set piece.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not bad, but it's not great.
Yeah, no, going into it not expecting something amazing, you go, oh, that was a good ride. But I really do feel like the final scene kind of undoes a bit of that goodwill.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
There's so many choices that the characters make that make no sense and are clearly there just to escalate that final act or that final scene. But overall, it was fine. It's not going to stand the test of time. But it's, if it came up on TV and I had nothing else to watch, I wouldn't mind it.
For me, in a way, the reason why it can stand the test of time is because there is literally, nothing but the plot. Now, I'm not saying it holds up as a good movie, but the film itself holds up because they're out in the elements and there's nothing like... cell phones, like even if you made this film today, you would just go like, oh, the cell phones don't work because there's no tower.
There's no reception. Boom.
So you've just eliminated that, plot element. But it can play just as well today as it does then because it's not tied. It's so much in the elements. It's in the mountain that it doesn't tie to any specific time and place.
In terms of for its time, because I was interested to know... how well something like this was received. It was nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Supporting Actor for John Lithgow, and Worst Screenplay at the Razzies in 1994. Didn't win any, but was on the list, which actually genuinely surprised me.
That surprised me too, hearing that, because, yeah, I mean, in the cultural context, like, John Lithgow was like a really respected actor at that time, and for him to be doing this movie is a little bit out of left field. I think he was a last-second casting choice, but I'm not sure. Would have to get a fact check on that.
Right, because I felt like I'm surprised at how much flack it seemed to have gotten, in 1994. Because watching, I'm like, a lot of it I feel like I can forgive because it was a film made in the 90s.
Well, one of the things that really dates it to me, aside from the extreme sports guys, which...
Actually, yeah, I can't believe I haven't mentioned them yet.
That is one of the few things that really stands out as like, I'm like, okay.
For some reason, as soon as they popped up, I was just like, yeah, fine. Like, I just totally forgave that they existed. And I don't think I should have. Like, that really does take the film, and they're just terrible, like...
They're just cliche. It's just straight out of the cliche handbook.
For some reason, this makes me feel like such a stupid young person. I watched that and was like, well, maybe people were like that back then. I don't know. I remember there was a lot of fluoro in the 90s. And I just let the film go on its merry way. I totally forgot they were in there.
Yeah, the base jump... Because they're base jumpers. That's who they are in the film.
They're totally radical base jumpers.
Yeah. And they're like talking about like MTV, like...
Yes, that's right.
Where would you rather be right now? Here in Tent City or at home playing some righteous air hockey?
Air hockey's definitely got my vote.
Exactly, Cheesehead, exactly.
And that's just clearly lobbed in there to appeal to the younger audience? Yes. Is that what it is?
Or something. I don't know. Like, I don't think younger audiences look at those guys and be like, man, I really want to be like them.
Yeah, it was weird because it was almost as like they were, I guess, a strike between comic relief and also, like something to appeal to the young people, maybe?
I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, they're really, I mean, like I said, they just come straight out of the cliche handbook. They're basically only there to create one more obstacle on the mountain, or what they're just two more guys who potentially can get killed that Gabe has to protect on the mountain.
Yeah, and they kind of help build Gabe's character at the start of the film as well, because they establish how much of a legend he is in Colorado amongst, the rock climbers and so on. But yeah, and then they just happen to be there as well.
And they get snowed in by the storm, so they're still up there. Like,
yes.
It's an opportunity for them to see a base jump on the film. Fun fact, though, on the base jumper's parachute is a Finnish flag.
Ah, Rennie. There you go.
Rennie tipping his hat to the motherland.
Now,
I'm surprised they didn't have like a Nokia ringtone like that guy.
I'm trying to remember, did that guy actually survive?
It's unclear because he gets shot, and the dialogue says that
because he gets cut down by the old
Frank.
dude.
Because the wolves are going to eat him.
And then does Frank put him in the helicopter?
Yeah, they take him. That's what it is. So Frank takes him.
Dead.
They take him to. Oh,
he's dead. Is
totally
he dead?
They never explain whether he's off the No. He said, because he says, Frank says he's at the hospital with a gunshot wound in his back. Okay. I remember that now.
Good. I'm glad that line of dialogue saved our radical base jumper's life.
The other guy didn't have quite a bodacious end.
No. Well,
Bill and Ted's epic fail base jump. That was the spin-off that never happened. They couldn't get out of development stage.
No.
Yeah, because here's the thing about this movie is that it, in a sense, follows a bit of the Die Hard template, but plays liberally with the template.
Oh, the idea that a man who gets thrust into a situation.
Well, the Die Hard template is essentially a sealed environment, a hero that's overlooked or thought to be dead. Right. The hero is disadvantaged in some way, but then there's also a ticking clock element as well. Yeah. So this has all of those.
Yeah, right.
But the hermetically sealed environment is the mountain.
Yep.
And
the storm kind of keeping them in to a certain extent.
So that's the environment. The lone hero, that's Stallone, but he's disadvantaged by having his coat taken and all of his gear taken.
See, that was the thing. I didn't really feel that while watching the film. It's like, okay, he doesn't have his coat, but it doesn't really seem to slow him down because he doesn't really seem overly affected by the snow.
Well, he almost dies. Like, that's when he goes into the little cabin, and that's where he reunites with Jesse on the mountain.
Yeah. But you see, that doesn't even really seem like he's close to death at all. I felt like that wasn't emphasized enough, that's how close he was to dying. Like, it just... I reckon that's probably a fault of Rennie's in a way, and that the way it was put together, I just didn't feel those stakes at all. It was just like, he's cold. But yes, logically, he should probably be dead.
You see on the night vision goggles, there's a temperature, and it's minus 9 degrees Celsius. Like,
But you don't actually see those until after he meets up with Jesse in the cabin.
But I mean, what I'm saying in a sense of like, if that's where the temperature is hanging, you could not survive outside in a t-shirt.
Then explain why he then dives into a frozen lake and takes his shirt off.
That is because you would sink in those situations. You want to take as much weight off you,
right?
Because if you're holding that weight, you'll drown.
See, that's the thing. I watched him taking his clothes off. I'm like, dude, first of all, you're probably gonna die because you're already in there, but you're gonna take your clothes off as well. Like, I'm sure there's probably some crazy scientific reason as to why taking the clothes off actually is helpful.
Well, probably not.
But probably not. Like, it just,
That's what went through my head, is that like, if he takes off his shirt, then he's not gonna sink more because of the weight of the clothes.
Right. Which, okay.
And if you are in a hypothermia situation, you actually are supposed to get naked.
Well, in the back of my head, that's what I was thinking. I thought I knew that, and now you've repeated it, and that actually makes sense. I think that's probably what it was.
So, but anyways, this, like I was saying, this sort of loosely follows the Die Hard template.
Yep.
But they play with the form a lot. So he's thought dead several times. They keep overlooking him. He's disadvantaged by like having the old gear, like the old rope that he steals from the cabin.
Oh, which splits in half.
Yeah, so all those elements. So those are the kind of the Die Hard elements, and the ticking clock element of, they got to pull off this robbery relatively quickly. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to get away with the money.
Well, I feel like one of the reasons, I guess, it doesn't rise to be as strong as Die Hard in that way is that they're already in a crazy situation. They're rock climbing. So it gets to the point where you kind of, sure, you've seen him do it with the gear and now you're seeing him do it without the gear, but I didn't really feel like there was any difference there. Whereas I guess in Die Hard's situation, it's just a building, but he's barefoot, glass gets shattered and he's running over it. Like, it's a familiar situation for us, which then gets totally turned on its head. Whereas with rock climbing, we all just go, wow, these people are Superman. I just don't think it works.
Well, that's the element that they are playing with, is that Stallone is in his environment where the bad guys are out of their environment.
So then so it doesn't, that underdog element doesn't quite work.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. This is the template is there, but it's the form is played with very liberally.
Almost as if they've misunderstood what works with that formula.
Well, I mean, look, do we want to have, or we did in the 90s, have like just rubber stamped diehards coming out every several years. So I think playing with the form actually works to their advantage. The fact that Gabe is in his element and the bad guys are out of their element, despite the fact that Gabe is disadvantaged from the point of view of he has no weapons.
Yeah, okay.
He has to defeat them using 0 weapons.
Yeah, which that's probably the one thing that's impressive, because does he shoot a gun at all? Apart from the bolt gun thing.
That's it. No, he never actually fired. That's, I think, and this is, I think, actually the strength of the film, is that he never fires a gun aside from the phony bolt gun at the end. He uses his axe or his little knife or the stalagtite. Yes. Stalactite death. That was like, but see, that's a good example, is he's getting the crap beat out of him by Leon. He's not a fighter.
But he's rope-a-doping him in a way.
Sissy. You hit like a sissy.
Wrong answer.
handsome motherfucker!
Like, he picks his moment and then bang.
Right.
It's just Rocky all over again.
Oh, okay. Right, all right.
Like, even in the water, it's a similar thing. Like, he falls in the water. No, actually, no, that's not the same. But the stalactite scene is almost a classic rope-a-dope because he's just waiting for the right moment.
Right, you're putting a lot more thought into this boxing metaphor than I did. I just thought he's getting his ass handed to him, and he's just like, he uses the only thing that a rock climber would know, the stalactite.
But like, does he ever even make an attempt to defend himself? I guess he does get a couple of swings in at some point.
Yeah, but no, he doesn't. He's just getting his ass handed to him.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, he's using, like, his technique to defeat the bad guys is actually to destroy the money, because he knows if he gets rid of the money, they'll, theoretically go away.
But then, yeah, I understood that, but part of me was also like, that takes away your bargaining chip as well. Then they have no reason not to kill you. If you're able to bargain with them with the money. But then again, it's also they needed them to get off the mountain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one other point I do want to bring up in the cultural context is, as we have somewhat alluded to earlier, is the role of women in this film is basically for the plot.
Yeah, no, that they only exist for the plot. There's the one woman who is there as a motivation for Stallone's character, and the other woman who is just another pilot. It was it was fine.
But even going further back to the very beginning, who dies?
Oh yeah, the girlfriend.
She's only there. She's solely there to make Gabe feel guilty.
Hold on, I got you. You'll be alright. You're not gonna die. Don't you lose again! No! Sarah, no!
Wow.
Like, that was the real kicker to me.
And yeah, that's so terrible. Jessie is there because she can fly people around, but at the end of the day, she's there so that Stallone has
Has a person to save.
Exactly. At the end of the film.
I mean, she's a little bit stronger. Like, I mean, and this is the thing. In some ways, while Cliffhanger does this very badly, there are elements where they're actually moving in the right direction, in the sense that Jessie is a helicopter pilot. She is capable of doing things. She's a mountain climber herself.
Yeah, she does a bit of the climbing, but Gabe is clearly the better climber.
But she's not incompetent. She's not purely the damsel in distress. She's not Kate Capshaw from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Well, not until she waves at the helicopter and you see John Lithgow pointing a gun at her from outside the helicopter. Cut to, she's in the helicopter. Like, can't you just run away? What's the helicopter going to do? If he's still in the helicopter, by the time he tries to land it and chase you, you're gone.
Yeah, that is bad.
It's from that point that the film's plot went downhill.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into the filmmaking. Let's get into the.
Well, can we just unpack the final scene?
Let's talk about process. All right. Let's talk about process. We'll start with the final scene.
Do we want to start with?
Let's do it.
I'm happy to start you. Okay. There are so many. The final conflict is totally contrived. Absolutely 100%. Almost every decision, or most of the decisions the characters make, just escalate the plot. The girl had no reason to be captive in a helicopter for starters.
No, and how does she possibly think that John Lithgow is going to shoot her from within the helicopter cockpit. Like
Exactly.
he's pointing the gun on the inside of the glass.
Exactly. Like it just
You can't shoot, like, even if he does shoot, from the inside of the glass and like maybe kind of hit her, like
it would be at his disadvantage for him to shoot in that situation. So there's that. And then hold on, I've written these down.
why does go through your list. Go through your list.
So helicopter's hovering, they're trying to do the exchange. He drops her off with the winch cable thing.
Yeah, and why?
Look, fine. No. It's the next thing. Okay, so obviously you could see it coming a mile away. He's going to attach the cable to the ladder. Hilarious idea. Amazing. It's totally going to fuck up John Lithgow's day. I love it. Why climb the fucking ladder to escape from the helicopter? There's a whole mountain away from the chopper. Chopper follows. Goodbye, chopper. Because it's not going to be able to fly any further. All right?
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward. Stallone is hanging off of this fucking ladder that is being suspended by a helicopter. Oh, what does Hal do? Shoot a shotgun at the helicopter. The thing that's keeping your friend alive, just destroy it. It'll be fine. And then, of course, when the helicopter does land on the cliff face, it doesn't blow up. But then when it lands on the ground, it blows up.
That's the rule in 90s action movies. The helicopter only blows up when the director says so.
Every major decision made in that film was in that scene was stupid.
Yeah. You have I can't defend that at all. It is, but the fact that John Lithgow lets Janine Turner off the helicopter, why does he do that? That's his bargaining chip. At that point, Stallone has zero reason to give him the money. I mean, and you could see it from a mile away. He's going to throw the money into the helicopter blade.
Well, see, I actually didn't think about that at all. I thought, okay, look, it could be a genuine exchange. Sue me for being.
I think it's because
naive.
I've seen it before.
Yeah. No, but I think at times I also watch a film and I am far too naive of what would be a better option. But yeah, it was clearly they wrote. It's almost as if they said, "All right, Lithgow and Stallone are going to fight on the helicopter suspended off of the cliff. How do we get there?"
Yeah, they work backwards.
And then once they got there, they've gone, "Cool, let's have an early finish for today. Let's go to the bar." Like there was no looking over of that part. Up until that point, I didn't have too much of a problem with the plot of the film. It was just, that whole thing just totally unraveled the whole thing and made sense for it to get a nomination for worst screenplay.
Well, and like what you said there was really apropos because, like, I have the exact same criticism. I can't really fault the plot, but the thing that this movie really falls down on is not plot, but character.
Right, yeah.
There is zero character. And when I say zero, literally, I think the only people who mention stuff outside of the plot are the extreme base jumpers and Frank, because he does the paintings. But there's almost nothing in these characters that exists outside of the plot. They never talk about anything really,
but doesn't
except the plot.
Yeah, but isn't that what makes this film timeless, like we were saying before?
It works to its advantage and to its disadvantage.
Right.
It cuts both ways.
But then otherwise, these characters are basically just molds. Like you've got Stallone's damaged hero, his best friend who he's not really friends with. Like they're just these very archetypal characters that have nothing to them.
The angry ex-girlfriend or the bitter ex-girlfriend who's upset that he ran away and is coming back for her.
Yeah, that was interesting, her reaction, because the title card does say 8 months later after that whole thing happens, and then he's driving back and meets up with her and she's giving him shit for disappearing, but he dropped someone. How traumatic would that be?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, but this is my criticism is that like they literally don't talk about anything except for what's happened in the plot that we've seen.
Oh, what I'm saying is that I think that she is not very fair on him.
Oh, right.
in that scenario, it's just a...
Give him a break, okay?
Yeah, no, that's
he
exactly
dropped
what
a
I was
woman
thinking.
and her stuffed dog toy too.
Yes,
nonetheless,
yeah.
You know,
Like,
she's not getting
totally-
buried with that.
It was... Yeah, I couldn't quite get around why she was so angry with him. And that was, out of that moment, we got that classic line.
I haven't climbed in months. You just lose the feel.
And then she comes back with...
Maybe you mean the nerve.
Boom. And then immediately apologizes.
Yeah.
But
Well, actually, a good example of the characters having zero existence outside of the plot is with those two extreme base jumpers. Right. So when Gabe comes back, they go, "Where have you been, Gabe?" And he's like, "I've been in Denver working." And his job is never named.
yeah, we have no idea what the fuck he's been doing for 8 months.
And that's exactly it, is that these characters have zero existence outside of the plot. Michael Rooker, Hal, who's also Yongu from Guardians of the
Galaxy. That's what I recognized him from.
always wants to eat Chris Pratt. He's also in an indie film called Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, where he plays this really scary, it's like a psychotic serial killer.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, he's angry at Stallone because of his girlfriend's death. Yeah. There's zero talk
Of
about
anything else.
anything else.
Except for Frank. Frank has more...
He's the only one who has an existence outside of the plot.
And he's in the film for 15, 20 minutes. Like, he flies the helicopter at the start, then he flies and picks up the rad dude, and then he gets killed by John Lithgow. And that's it.
But again, he's there to service the plot. So, why they threw in the whole thing with him painting at the ranger station, in the beginning, it doesn't...
I'd like to think that maybe there's some stuff that Stallone wrote that just got ripped out. And that was one of the things that was left.
Look, it's possible. I mean, obviously...
I reckon there is probably a whole bunch of stuff that it was changed and it was pared back, and probably a lot of film executive meddling. Now, in terms of where this was filmed, most of it was actually filmed in Italy. It wasn't actually filmed in Colorado.
Oh, oui.
Yes. So...
Or should I say, Mamma Mia?
Yeah, there you go. But I did feel like there were quite a few bits that were still done on a soundstage. I would probably estimate this was probably 60% on location, this film, whereas I feel like a lot of the dialogue and stuff was purpose-built soundstage stuff. And obviously the cave stuff had to be.
Yeah, cave is obviously a soundstage. The water where Stallone goes into the water and shoots the bolt gun up, that's obviously a stage.
And actually the bridge they blew up is a real bridge that they blew up and then had to rebuild in Italy, which is... I feel like this was quite a big film in terms of budget. Like, as we said before, there was the $1 million stuntman for the plane transfer scene, which I think that was a pretty impressive stunt altogether.
That's a great set piece. And a lot of the set pieces are still very good. They still hold up. Yeah,
for sure. Except for some of the green screening of the girl falling in the opening scene. Like that, it's fine, but doesn't work by today's standards.
Yeah, that is very classic 80s and 90s. I mean, because in RoboCop, Dick Jones falls off the tower like that. It's the kind of the wailing your arms
flailing and the legs flailing behind some kind of matte painting or whatever, and it's just they're not quite dropping right. But I think again it's that case of, because they couldn't really depend on CG for the film because it wasn't really great back then, most of it is really, really good and really impressive, except for those few moments where you can really see the edges.
Yeah, I mean, and that's to me what makes this film hold up. The fact that there is no character makes this essentially a forgettable film.
Yeah, no, there's nothing to hold on to. You don't.
But it's not bad.
No,
except for the ending. Yeah. We could point to the ending and be like, that is really contrived, but there's nothing really bad in the filmmaking. The process is fine. The shots are good. Yeah. The cinematography is good. The acting is passable. It's what you would expect. But because there's zero character, there's nothing to hold on to.
Look, overall, I wasn't expecting a masterpiece, but I kind of enjoyed it, even though the villains were like overly evil. That was the thing that stuck out for me the most.
The only thing he's missing is a mustache twirl.
Yes, yeah, and like a monocle or something.
Yeah.
But I guess it kind of makes me think you could make a high stakes and exciting rock climbing film. I think the pieces that they put together for that story were a decent idea. Obviously, yeah, the script wasn't great. Execution was better than the script probably deserved in some parts.
I mean, that would be my kind of final thoughts on it, is that while it doesn't seem to me that like it's actually a film that I think could be remade. This is a film that I think could be remade and improved upon. It could be remade in the sense that there's not enough of any character or anything for people to hang on to be like, hey man, you screwed up my childhood. No one's gonna look at this and be
actually
like,
that's a fair point. But I think if you did remake it, how much of it is just going to be CG bullshit, and you're not going to be as impressed by the set pieces?
You're not going to see the squibs go off near that rabbit and nearly
the poor rabbit.
Yeah.
Actually, no, the rabbit didn't die. It's not poor. It was fine.
No, it's fine. So final review, I will give this 5 out of 10 plunges to the death.
I would give it 5 out of 10 stalactites to the sternum.
Oh, excellent. Ouch. And I mean that in terms of both the review and the
5 out of 10 is not that bad.
No, it's not. It's passable. It's a passable action movie.
It's fine.
Okay. Anyways, this has been Too Old for This Shit. And finally, before we leave you, we, of course, must do the obligatory social media plug.
Like us on Facebook at TOFTS Podcast and follow us on Twitter at TOFTS Podcast to stay up to date and send us any movie review suggestions. Make sure you also subscribe on your podcasting app of choice and leave us a review. It helps.
It really does.
I've swum with clothes on before.
Wait a minute. You just like jump in the pool with your jeans on?
I actually know, as part of swimming lessons, we had a lesson like every month where we'd have to swim with clothes on. Just, it was like a safety thing.
Was this some kind of torture? Like torturing children?
It was really difficult.